I started flying in 2009 and just fell in love with it. It's pretty cool when you go to work every morning and you pull up and you're like, I wonder what we're going to see and do today. I wonder where we're going to go. My flight partner, Chad, who was the flight nurse that day, and our pilot, Dave Schneider, was just a great pilot. We had a lot of fun. We were a good team, just like flying with your friends. A big winter storm had blown through, like a really big winter storm the day before. It was an interfacility flight. We lifted, went over there, and picked up a patient and packaged him, and he did great. The flight went just fine. So things didn't go bad until we hear probably about 15 minutes into our 25-minute return to base. Kind of right over, kind of in no man's land of the superstitions where there's nowhere to set down. It's just really rugged terrain. I had enough time to pick up my head and from the laptop and see us going into a dive. The terrain, getting bigger and closer at us. We banked hard right. I'm assuming we were trying to go for altitude, and we were just too far into it. It's like the aircraft exploded. We had hit and then rolled. We kind of went end over end, and as we rolled, kind of the aircraft just disintegrated, like just started breaking apart. The aircraft came down on the pilot's side. I was actually ejected out. So I was trying to get out of my harness. I'm shouting for them, and I could hear Schneider, our pilot, just taking his last breaths, just kind of those agonal respirations. By the time I got out of my harness, he had stopped breathing, and I knew he had died. So I got to where the aircraft was, on the side of the aircraft. And I grabbed onto the skit and was able to go down. I saw my partner, Chad. He had been ejected, but his right arm was underneath the skit of the aircraft. It was crushed underneath it. So I started to crawl to him. I remember grabbing his legs and we were trying to get him out, but there was no way. His arm was crushed underneath it, to the point where his bicep was just paper thin. It was freezing. Once the sun went down, it probably dropped 30 degrees, and we were drenched in fuel, laying in snow. The air traffic controller who was watching us was new. She was overwhelmed. She had forgotten about us. It wasn't until, I think, almost 3 hours later that they realized that we were missing. I knew I was hurt bad, and I was worried that I was bleeding, like internally, just because of all the injuries I had. Realistically, had they not been along that flight path, I probably wouldn't have survived till morning. But I remember when Dr. Blackburn, the trauma attending, telling me, he was like, "Hey, Derek, both of your femurs are broken. Will I walk again?" And let's say you jumped off the Empire State Building, you land on your feet. They put me in traction on both sides, which actually provides a lot of relief, but it's still pretty painful nonetheless.
When I arrived at the hospital, I found Derek's immediate family, and I reassured them and explained my role as a patient advocate, and that I'm going to be here for you until the very end, until he's completely released from care. I will be helping coordinate things. I'll make sure that he gets everything he needs to get better.
It was 3 months in a wheelchair, non-weight bearing, and this is where Charlene and I get to be good friends. Charlene will come in if I have a question, a concern, a problem, and she comes in and she has the answers. She took this terrifying process and made it into a calm, controlled process.
I almost recall Derek saying to me, "I just want to get back to work. I want to get back. I want to get better. I want to get better so that I can see my daughter and be with my family again." And most people don't say that. I
didn't know there was a person who did this. I thought it was just, you get out of the hospital and then you have to make 10,000 phone calls and 100 emails. And when you're in a position like that, sometimes you just don't have the strength to deal with that.
I worked with the hospital case manager really closely to determine what would his home needs be.
So they built a wheelchair ramp, like from my garage into my house. They have people who do this for a living, you know, and Charlene knows all these people.
As soon as he could return to work and he felt like that it was okay with him, then he did return to work, and I believe, a very timely manner. It was pretty remarkable.
In between surgeries, you know, I had some time on my hands, so I picked up where I was going, where I left off going to nursing school, and you know, I figured, well, if I can't go back to flying, then while I'm healing, at least let me knock out my RN. I knew if I wasn't going to go back to flying, you know, if I wasn't going to get my flight status back, that, you know, well, I'll go work for the hospital to help save my life. You know, she may take her job for granted, but when she does it and she makes things so much easier for you, you know, like I said, it just allows you that much more comfort to focus on yourself. It's just as important as the surgeons and the doctors.